Hello everybody and welcome to Connect, Collaborate, and Listen's final project for our IMBAX 604 course at Philadelphia University. You will hear from myself, Lauren, Mike, and Shannon as we discuss our innovative business model using the Canvas tool for Untappd. As you can see from the right-hand side of this slide, our agenda lays out how we will dive into Untappd and their current business model, our findings, and our solution for sustained innovation. We believe that our solution affords Untappd the opportunity to tap into emerging markets, grow their profit margins, all the while increasing both brand awareness and revenue from their existing consumers. Our innovation didn't come overnight. It actually evolved over the course of 6 weeks. From our early days as an assigned group, we established a course of action and cadence for our meetings in which we could set ourselves up for success. From our team charter and semi-weekly conversations, we braced ourselves for this presentation early on. In week 3, we explored the business model canvas to which our innovation was built upon and identified several companies in the social media landscape to which we could innovate with. As we regrouped during week 4, we collectively agreed upon that Untappd was the company that was most in need of a new or reinvented business model. Following in Clayton Christensen and Simon's next steps, we began comprehensive looks into the business model canvas tool and patterns that could potentially transform our company's business model. During week 6, we used Bloom's taxonomy of higher order thinking skills to analyze and innovate our business model by completing a full environmental assessment of the space around Untappd. By week 7, we were churning and burning ideas and ready for a rapid prototyping phase. We took to the streets in Canvas and local bars, surveyed online with SurveyMonkey, in person with focus groups, reached out to industry experts, all the while sampling craft beer offerings in our areas. From that information collection, we were able to truly arrive at a customer-centric business model with end-user empathy from our target segments. So now you've been introduced to our journey, let's kick into Untappd. In order to appreciate Untappd and their success, I'd like to back up a bit and dive into a brief American history of alcohol consumption. According to a BBC article, early Americans consumed alcohol at unparalleled levels by today's standards. They would have a healthy dam for breakfast, whiskey accompanied their lunch, ale almost always served with supper, and at the day, it was concluded with a nightcap. This continuous imbibing clearly built up a tolerance as most Americans in 1790 consumed an average of 5.8 gallons of pure alcohol a year compared to today's 2-gallon average. What would appear to be an insanely and unmaintainable consumption of alcohol was only the standard, as alcohol was so much so incorporated into the daily life. By 1830, the consumption peaked at 7.1 gallons a year average, and drinking became a moral issue. Alcoholism was recognized as a disease, and the climate for prohibition eventually led to a legal course of action on behalf of the United States government banning alcohol. But prohibition did not necessarily ban all alcohol consumption, and many Americans found legal and not so legal ways to carry on drinking. The speakeasy was born, organized crime moved in, and alcohol became big business. In fact, the cost of enforcing prohibition itself became prohibitive. Even though the prohibition movement has essentially subsided, the insatiable desire for alcohol and exclusivity has preempted today's craft beer movement, a movement that is stereotyped with hipsters and millennials' fear of missing out and being capitalized by exclusive bars to a level of success that is reminiscent of the Roaring '20s. This higher echelon of craft beer and its consumers' habits has led to mobile applications for craft beer enthusiasts, and thus Untappd was born. Co-founders Tim Mather and Greg Avola melded technology and their love for all things beer into Untappd. Untappd is an application and a new way to socially share and explore the world of beer with your friends and the world. Curious to what your friends are drinking or where they're hanging out? You can check out their profiles and toast or comment on the beers they're checking in with. Untappd will offer you beer recommendations based on what you and your friends have been enjoying, so you'll really have no reason to not try something new. As additional encouragement, Untappd allows you to earn a number of cool badges for completing a variety of different criteria. If you're ready to start drinking socially, you can sign up for Untappd. As you'll see in this slide, our business canvas reveals Untappd's current offerings. I'd like to highlight a few elements of our 9 segments. Currently, Untappd partners with breweries and bars. Both breweries and bars pay into Untappd to be featured on their social platform and in return receive a host of data and analytics that Untappd produces. This allows bars and breweries to engage with their fans by establishing personal connections with their customers in the Untappd social sphere. They're also able to analyze consumer trends and gain insight into popularity and distribution of their beers within Untappd's brewery tools, all the while still being able to manage beer inventory to expand and optimize their current beer portfolios. Craft beer enthusiasts are the end users who feed info into the app that generates the data and, of course, software platforms that the apps reside on. The current customer segments are similar to the key partners. For Untappd's value proposition, they provide information for customers for beer recommendations based off of algorithms to provide a catered experience. Bars and breweries receive analytical insight into their customers' segments, wants, and needs. And the gamification enhances Untappd's experience for the users as the badges change seasonally and with your leveling. Current revenue streams are from bars and breweries, but enhanced revenue streams include promotional events and subscription services for super users. All the costs will carry over with the innovative canvas that we've created, as the cloud structure and web development of the app will still remain quintessential components to the app's continued success. Here we have an illustration to expand upon Untappd's offering. You'll notice in the right-hand corner we do have two badge icons available for preview. On the left-hand side, we have the scanning application that helps you track and monitor your beer findings, as well as underneath it, the ranking attribution. You'll see how you can rank with unique bottle cap icons and make notes in case you want to recommend or revisit that beer later. Now Mike is going to take over and dive into the golden circle approach of how connecting people through beer is Untappd's why.
Thank you, Lauren, for the introduction. At this point in the project, we're going to discuss the golden circle, and this is a concept that was introduced by Simon Sinek. And the purpose of the golden circle is for companies, or even individuals for that matter, to discover your why. And Simon describes your why as your purpose or your cause or belief that inspires you to do what you do. So for a company, it's not so much just about like making a product or a service. It's about like, why do you make that product or service? He used the example of Apple, and their why is to think differently. It's not necessarily to just make computers or consumer products for people. Like, that has no purpose. It has no meaning. It's like, where think differently is something that changes the way people convey the company. So we wanted to discover this for Untappd itself. Untappd uses the tagline of drink socially, and it kind of starts to lead you into the direction of what their why is, but we want to take it a little bit deeper. The idea of the why for us is that moment of, like, sharing a beer with somebody, whether it's in person or online or through any of the tools that Untappd has developed, but it's sharing a moment with somebody through beer. So we determined our why is connecting people through beer. That was our official why. The how of how Untappd does this is they promote the discovery and sharing a beer with friends, family, and new connections. Again, it's all about the people and the manner in which they connect. And the what is they've developed this web-based platform. And the web-based platform allows you to basically take sharing beer, with someone locally now to a national level. If you're sitting in your home in New Jersey, you can now share a beer with friends that moved away to Colorado. And, you can share what you're drinking that night and new beers that you found. You can have a conversation back and forth. This is the platform that Untappd has developed, and it all leads back to this why, connecting people through beer. In this next portion of the project, we utilized IDEO's Ways to Grow matrix, and IDEO has identified this matrix as a way for project teams to determine their path of innovation. And so we use this for Untappd to start, putting together ideas of like how we could utilize the matrix in the 4 quadrants: adapt, manage, extend, create. And as we researched Untappd and kind of found some opportunities and gaps in service, we start plugging away these ideas. We use this as direction for the rest of the project because we've basically determined that we wanted to stay within the extend and manage quadrants, because we felt that Untappd still had a lot of room to grow, and that there was just some issues more from like generating revenue and generating deeper relationships with the breweries as their partners. So this was the inspiration for the rest of the project. In this next section of the project, the team explored the business patterns of Untappd, and trying to identify ways in which we could further innovate the company by understanding the patterns that exist or the patterns that we could then create for moving forward. We initially looked at the long trail pattern, the multi-sided pattern, and free as a business pattern. We ultimately decided to utilize pieces of the multi-sided pattern and free as a business pattern because we've identified the relationship between the breweries and the users as something we could move forward with. In essence, they generate value toward each other. So the more that the breweries interact with Untappd, the more value that's generated for the users. The more the users utilize Untappd and create data is the more value created for the breweries. So on slide 9, we discuss some of the points that have come together from both the multi-sided and the free as a business model, because we realize if we remove some of the barriers from price and create additional value for the breweries, we can then in turn create more value for the users. So by examining the patterns, we've identified the value that we know we want to further create for Untappd into the later sections of the project. On slide 10, the group took everything we did from the business model patterns and we created a new business model canvas. You can see from the chart we have everything that was like from the original canvas, or at least the previous one was in blue, and anything we created new as part of the patterns research was labeled as pink as part of the reinvention. With all of the ideas of generating value and within that relationship of the breweries and the users, we created this new category in revenue streams called super craft beer enthusiasts, or super users as we will refer to them throughout the project. And the idea here is that we create value for the users that will create a monthly subscription that will generate more revenue for Untappd. We do this by creating more value for the breweries, and this is where the free model pattern comes into play, is that we realize that the price for the data analytics might be a little too high for the breweries, and it would be our job to find what is the optimal price to attract the breweries to become part of the Untappd network, creating more value for the users, but still worth the breweries' value. And other things we would need to do is create direct sales opportunities. So we talk about that in a couple of sections where the breweries would now be able to directly sell to super users is the idea. And super users would have this exclusive access to new releases and events. And again, this all comes down to the idea, going back to the why, of creating this connection. So not only are we connecting people through Untappd, but we're also connecting now users to breweries at a deeper level. As we've introduced new ideas to the business model canvas, it really affects all of the other sections. As we think about opening up direct sales opportunities, we know that'll affect our key activities, our cost structure. So we've highlighted those pieces again in pink. At this point, I would like to introduce Shannon Ames. And she will be taking you through the research that we did for our business model environment portion of the project.
Thanks, Mike. After adapting our business model canvas a few times, the next step was to develop a further understanding of our environment. We did this by looking at 4 main areas: market forces, key trends, industry forces, and macroeconomics. As a team, we completed our research and documented our findings, as well as our references in a Word document. What you're seeing here are the highlights of our extensive work. One question being asked in the industry is the market saturated? Current market forces tell us that while craft beer is currently making up 11% of its market share, it is anticipated to nearly double by 2020. We also saw that new consumers are emerging and becoming craft beer drinkers, such as the millennials, young women, and Hispanics. We learned that the current craft beer drinker wants more knowledge, more diversity, and quality in what they are drinking. It looks as if there are few industry forces that will stop the momentum of craft beer. We did recognize an opportunity to possibly grow our business model towards the flavored whiskeys, as they are on the rise. However, after considering what Mike presented on IDEO ways to grow, we decided that staying within the realm of the beer app would make the most sense for our model at this time. Now back over to you, Mike.
On slide 12, we are covering some of the new ideas that we've introduced to Untappd. It's based off of the research and previous discussions. We've already introduced the In the Know Super User, which is the subscription base for users to evolve into. But we've just labeled out in more detail some of the ideas. We've talked about the brewery releases and direct sales opportunities. We've also introduced the idea of beer trading portal. Through our research. We've found that like beer trading is becoming very popular, and it's it's kind of based around the challenge of not being able to ship beers from state to state. But Untappd could actually verify like users, so we feel like we could add some value for the super users in this way. It's like providing a forum for verified users to become almost like beer pen pals. So we've also added some new ideas for the entry levels, because we realize that we want to bring in more traffic into Untappd, and we've identified new users in the areas of women from 21 to 35, millennials, and Hispanics through some of our research. And we were coming up with some new ways to attract users, and realizing that some of the barrier of beer is that people don't feel comfortable of their knowledge of beer. So we thought we would create something around like, a beginner's guide to beer, where it's almost like, education within the different categories and styles. And we've had these ideas of like gamification, and we know we have to watch our responsibility in this piece, and we'll actually cover it in some of our later ideas within the corporate responsibility page. But introducing like scavenger hunts, whereas like people are looking for like a new release or a new beer or something like that. It's like giving a task challenge, and it kind of plays in even to like the badges that are already worked within Untappd. So these are just some of the ideas, but you can see from what we have on the page the full new innovations that we're trying to introduce. On slide 13, this diagram that we put together is describing in detail the revenue generation that Untappd will now be able to, with the new ideas, bring into the company. And it's really this like pattern, and again, it's like following this relationship between the users and the breweries. So if you start with the craft beer enthusiasts, we're trying to bring in more traffic through some of the new features that we've introduced. On the second stage, you have the breweries, and by finding what is that optimal price. Right now we have like approximately $1,000 a year. We'll have to figure out like what is the optimal price for that. But have breweries actually paying to be part of the network. It will help cover some of the initial costs of the IT infrastructure necessary to maintain the app. And then they also will now have the ability to sell exclusive releases. And we've identified that as being like the middleman, that Untappd could basically take some of the percentage of every sale, whatever that percentage would be. We would have to again figure that out. But we see revenue coming in from that piece of it. And then we've also, because we've generated now value for the breweries, we've created this In the Know Super Users. So we'll be generating revenue from a monthly subscription. Again, this will be a great way to generate sustained revenue over time, and just being low monthly costs shouldn't be too much of a barrier for the users to want to jump into this next level. And what we've had throughout the entire, and we haven't changed this too much, is Untappd's ability. So in section 4 here, for Untappd's ability to work with bars, restaurants, and festivals to as like ad promotions for new beers on tap or new events and things like that. So again, it actually circles back to generating revenue or generating value for the craft beer enthusiasts, which then would just kind of continue to complete the circle here.
Mike, thanks for the insight on the prototypes. The next step will be to take the information to the customer. In order to understand a bit more about the customers, we created empathy maps and personas. The first is beer guy Brian. He is our craft beer enthusiast. He is in his early 50s and is married with 2 older children. He wakes up each morning to coffee brewing in the kitchen that was made by his wife. He drinks his coffee black and thinks that anyone who drinks their coffee with cream and sugar is missing out on the best part of the morning. He's not an emotional man, but family is very important to him. He has household responsibilities that he takes very seriously. He has many liberal viewpoints, but is interested in hearing others' opinions. He dreams that one day he will be retired with his wife, but worries that he hasn't put enough money aside to do so. He has an incredibly busy schedule and enjoys discussing new beers with friends and families. He is most happy when he gets a few minutes to himself to check out the latest and greatest in the beer aisle.
Hey, I'm Beer Guy Brian. Honestly, I spend way too much time in the liquor stores, shopping for all kinds of different craft beers. I love local beers, beers from far away, beers from different cities and overseas. I just love everything about beer culture and trying new beers and making friends.
Now let's look at our new user, Millennial Megan. She's 25 years old. She just recently graduated from a professional program and has started her first job in the city. She lives away from her family and 2 other roommates. She's always wanting to try new things, but is hesitant when not around people she knows. She has her own fashion sense, but often will follow the crowd she is in that day. She misses her family and friends at home, but is excited for all the new adventures and opportunities ahead. Eating healthy and going to the gym is very important to her. She frequently goes to happy hour to hang with friends. She would like to find a great guy one day that she can share all of her new adventures.
Good. Hi, I'm Millennial Megan, and I am a huge cider drinker. So I usually skip the beers, but ciders I go to 3 to 4 times a week. Other times and I'll change it up, try wine, some champagne, a lot of champagne. But my go-to ciders are always Recorder Lake. Sometimes I'll go for Cope Harbor. And they both have like a lot of like the fruitier flavors, and that's what I love. But then Strongbow's always great, Reds, and definitely like Angry Orchard are the go-tos. So that's my drinking plan.
To understand a bit more about the mindset of our customers, it was time to elicit feedback from them on our prototype. We were able to reach out to 4 specific customer segments: female and male millennials, industry experts, and craft beer enthusiasts. Knowing that the millennials like to hang at happy hour, what better place to form a focus group and talk about beer? We conducted 2 separate focus groups, knowing that we would hear different wants and needs from each gender. Questions were prepared by the group ahead of time, as well as the prototype was present as a visual to help facilitate discussion. Once the people saw and heard about the focus group, they all wanted to talk about Untappd. This opened the door to one-on-one conversations with craft beer enthusiast and an industry expert from Sly Fox Brewery. We still wanted to be sure we captured the craft beer enthusiast mindset, and so knowing the time constraints on this group, we chose to create a survey monkey to send out. We also wanted to be sure to gain more knowledge on the industry, so an email was sent to another larger brewery with questions to help give us a better sense of their thoughts surrounding Untappd. Our group also had the unique opportunity to look at our segments in different geographical areas. So interviews were conducted with Florida tourists, beer purchasers, and bartenders about the usability and adaptability of Untappd. After gathering all the data, the information was synthesized and presented to our group. Some takeaway points to consider about our business model was that the millennials really love free things. They will use apps and play games if there is some type of incentive for a free offering. One common finding from current users and soon-to-be new users is they both wanted the job of the app to recommend their next beer. The females liked the idea of a taste profile, while the craft beer enthusiasts wanted this to happen through the beer history and ratings. The industry experts liked the idea of selling their beer through the app to a local audience and wanted to be able to control their own beer list through Untappd. They both felt they didn't need analytics piece from Untappd because they could obtain this information themselves. It is important to note that the industry experts we talked to worked in larger breweries with an infrastructure and marketing teams. This feedback opens up opportunities for us to create different levels of partnerships to meet the needs of the smaller breweries needing analytics, as well as the larger breweries that want to be part of Untappd in a different capacity. Now that we have heard from the customer, it is time to revisit our business model canvas. As a team, we discussed what changes needed to occur, and here are the latest variations to the model. Rather than going over the details here, we'll move on to the visual representation on the next slide. For our final canvas, we will start with the value proposition, which has been enhanced with the addition of free beer education and a referral program targeted at our new users. Revenue generating in the know super user monthly subscription, which will allow access to exclusive Untappd brewery releases, beer trading portal, personalized stats, and exclusive badges. Our new verified Untappd program will be targeted at bars and restaurants. We've added in key partners. Search engine optimization strategy connects super domain authority brands like Lyft and Uber. The partnership provides shared car services access to potential new users, and Untappd benefits from the search engine optimization. This would meet the needs of our millennials and continue to increase our user base. We also would create optimal price points to meet the varying needs of large versus small breweries. This would be mutually beneficial as we could increase the availability of purchasing beer from users' local brewery while also being able to offer merchandise nationwide. And now Lauren will demonstrate our innovation from the Dublin model.
In order to spread innovation and remain competitive, one can be successful by following and developing their competitive edge through some form of innovation. However, many focus on only one area to innovate upon, but we are using Dublin's 10 types of innovation to expand upon 4. The 4 we chose are network, customer engagement, profit model, and channel. Network allows us to focus on our strength, the customer relationship. Channel will allow us to reach current and potential customers in new outlets and avenues. The profit model shows us how we are connecting new revenue streams with super users. And last but not least, the customer engagement aspect allows us to leverage the social outlet that Untappd has become for craft beer enthusiasts around the world. There is sensitivity around alcohol. We may not be consuming as many pure gallons of alcohol as we had in the past, but alcoholism, DUIs, and more are moral and life-changing challenges that the alcohol industry faces. Organizations such as Mothers Against Drunk Driving and the National Traffic Safety Administration are often noted for quotes that they make during interviews, such as the one from Mad.com in July 2003, where they said, "Don't forget impairment starts with the first drink, and driving impaired is a crime." Another notable quote is that civic leader Patrick Bedard said that there are even more fatalities from cirrhosis of the liver than automobiles, yet Congress has not once mentioned outfitting us with any anti-alcohol equipment. These quotes highlight the dangers and mandatory responsibility any alcohol-related vendors must comply with. There are current laws in place that limit shipping alcoholic content across state borders. Counties regulate where and when alcohol can be purchased, such as in Macomb, Illinois. Alcohol of any kind cannot be acquired on Sundays. And federal funding associates the age of 21 as a number where adults are allowed to consume alcohol, and if a state does not comply, that infrastructure funding will be threatened. Fortunately, though, for Untappd, this environment does not mean the end of the world. Yes, there is high sensitivity around alcohol, but corporate responsibility can help companies such as Untappd thrive in today's market. Currently, Untappd has the Uber icon with Get Ride with Uber featured above the fold in the mobile app. We believe that there are more opportunities for corporate responsibility that can benefit the bottom line. We can follow other successful beer vendors with drink responsibility campaigns such as Budweiser's Helen Mirren commercial that was focused during the Super Bowl. We can promote clean labeling and non-GMO ingredients, which can provide education and increase earned media. And we can also educate consumers about sustainable crafting practices that can help make the world a better place, at least a better place to have a beer. As Shannon mentioned, we did go through an assortment of different survey activities in which we can connect with the end user and seek out what they really wanted. What we learned was that there were super users and new users, and they both had different ideas in mind of what they would like to get out of Untappd. What's not available here on the video, but is in the downloaded PowerPoint, are 7 screenshots of the adjustments we made following our research phase. The first screen that's on the left shows how you can sign up for Untappd. That will be the same screen as before, where you have options of connecting your social profiles or signing up with just an email. Once you arrive, you'll be directed to a screen that will help you identify as a new beer consumer or a craft beer enthusiast. If you are new to beer and you don't know enough about it, you will be taken to our taste profile for recommendations and descriptions of various style beers. where you can either try Beer 101 and test to a specific level, or take the taste profile and begin your craft beer journey. Should you identify yourself as an experienced beer enthusiast, you will still have the options of taking the taste profile for recommendations and descriptions, but you'll also be shown the opportunity to sign up for the In the Know Super User subscription page. Following those two signs up and assessment of where you fall in the craft beer knowledge levels, you will be entered into our page where you'll have badges, statistics, tape profiles, games, and the ability to become a super user and have exclusive beer, trading opportunities, and merchandise. In conclusion, we have our final business canvas summary indicated here. On the left, you'll see that the original is highlighted in blue with the adjustments made in pink. You'll also see that we have identified some aspects that are in bold. The bold includes our additional revenue streams, new customer segments, and opportunities that we identified in previous business model canvases. The pink adjustments were made following our research and include the beer education and taste profile, the availability of national merchandise, as well as a corporate responsibility team. In regards to the icon, you'll see the 500 is one of the badges where we would increase the referral program with badges. Lyft is an additional car sharing, ride sharing opportunity to take place when Uber is not in that market. Under channels, you'll notice that there's a Zagat review icon, in which we hope that Untappd will be a verified resource for bars and restaurants alike. The biggest adjustment, of course, will be our revenue streams. We'll have additional funding coming from our super users. We'll have a revenue share for any beer acquired through our app that's exclusive to Untappd users, as well as partnership opportunities for rideshare companies such as Uber and Lyft. At the end of the day, we hope to connect people to beer and make a bit more money doing it. On behalf of Shannon, myself, and Mike, we'd like to wish you a happy holiday and cheers with our seasonal ales and checking in on Untappd. Thank you for your time, and please reach out if you have any additional questions. Cheers!